Hello, everybody, and welcome to the December 13th, 2018 edition of the Ephrom Josine Show. I am your host, Ephrom Josine. Now, to start off with, on Tuesday, we covered Donald Trump possibly shutting down the government to get his border wall and saying that he'll even take credit for it because he's an idiot. However, since then, Nancy Pelosi, the incoming House Speaker, has said that she is also willing to shut down the government forever to not fund the border wall. Am I the only one who sees a problem with that? Government shutdowns are completely unpopular, and now you're saying, oh yeah, we'll also shut down the government. No, you let him take the credit for it, and let it harm him, not you. This is the equivalent of someone jumping into lava and going, that's stupid, so I'm going to jump into lava. No, now you just look stupid. It doesn't make any sense. But okay. That's just something she was probably huffing with, it happens. The real question is, one, whether or not a government shutdown will occur, which at this point seems likely considering Donald Trump is in the White House and that's what Republicans do. And two, exactly which side is going to win. And at this point, it seems about 50-50. People don't like the expensive border wall, but they also don't seem to like immigration. Now, mind you, that is due to a bunch of more or less propaganda and a lot of zero-sum fallacy, but that's another story. But here's some good news. The Senate officially passed a resolution today saying that they will no longer support Saudi Arabia, which I personally think is very good, especially considering how this goes against Donald Trump's previous order, and as we all know, Donald Trump is a shill for Saudi Arabia. I mean, this is a country that didn't even allow women the right to drive until a few years ago. This decade that happened. This is a country that still regularly stones and hangs homosexuals and executes people for witchcraft and sorcery, neither of which even exist. This is a country that is in every way an Islamic theocracy. 15 out of the 19 9/11 hijackers are from this country, and Osama bin Laden. Meanwhile, they're just allowed to exist. The only difference between Saudi Arabia and ISIS is that Saudi Arabia is a United States ally. It is that simple. Anyway, so here's a piece from the Federalist that came out today. This is also a follow-up on a story I may have covered, I forget though. If I haven't, here's a refresher. Basically, a Chinese scientist was able to genetically modify an embryo to be immune to HIV, which obviously I think is amazing. And I think it's a big advancement in medical technology. Conservatives don't think that. Insert this guy named Kyle Salmon over at the Federalist. I have never heard of this guy. But he wrote a piece called Why Most People Can't Explain the Reason Meddling with Babies' DNA is Wrong. Because it isn't necessarily. Because when you're treating a disease or you're possibly making them immune to a disease, that's not wrong. In the same way, it's not wrong to give a 2-year-old a polio shot. News emerged last week that Chinese scientist He Jiaka had broken new ground scientifically and ethically by using CRISPR technology to edit the genes of unborn babies. That's a contradiction and you know it. Groundbreaking scientific efforts are usually hailed as progress for humanity, such as this one. Innovation in ethics is more often considered a problem. Both reactions are understandable. While new scientific developments have often improved the lives of people around the world, new developments in ethics typically involve getting around a moral barrier that mankind erected long ago. Aren't you a conservative, the person who by definition wants us to go back to those older morals? To be fair, I haven't actually been familiar with Solomon, so I don't know his specific moral view. However, the rest of this article gives me the idea that he's either a libertarian conservative or a paleo-conservative. Or possibly neo-conservative. He's some branch of conservative for sure. The public's reaction has been nearly universal to condemn He's actions, wrongfully in my opinion. But people have a harder time putting the reason for their disgust into words. The problem is that Western culture, listen, bud, if you hate the West so much, why don't you just leave? Okay, I couldn't resist that one. Has retreated from its historical idea of the right and wrong. We never really had that idea outside of you can't enforce your will onto others unless you have a very good reason of doing so. There was nothing in the Constitution about establishing morals. Without a grounding in religion or philosophy, oh, we have a pretentious one over here. People are left with feelings about proper behavior, but lack the grounding to express these emotions. We feel, almost instinctually, that it is wrong to meddle with the DNA of an unborn human being. It isn't. But we don't know why we feel that way, nor can we articulate it. You know what? I'll give him one more paragraph. An article from The Atlantic last week is a prominent example of this confusion. In it, author Ed Young gives 15 reasons his actions are worrying, but all are informatical complaints unborn from any greater ideas about the right way to live. Maybe because there isn't an objectively right way to live? You know what? How about I just do a shorthand? Does this guy actually refute anything the scientists did? The answer is no. Does this guy have any objection that isn't moral and therefore actually worth something? The answer is no. Does this guy even really know what his article is about, considering how it seems to be about how people agree with the scientist, but instead it's about how they can't quite disagree with him correctly? The answer is no. I'm done then. Anyway, I'm Ephrom, and good night.